Hello, my name is David Winter. I'm founder of the Project Health Control Methodology, PHC for short, and this presentation is an example of the methodology in action on a real project. In fact, what's presented here is an amalgamation of quite a mix-up of projects that have had PHC applied in some form over the history of PHC development to date. PHC is offered by Order Efficiency Limited, and although PHC is mainly about tracking project deliverables from inception to completion, critical concerns, or risks you might say, that arise while tracking deliverables are what we're really interested in. Control of critical concerns is in essence what the PHC service delivers. Let's start with a few relevant quotations. First one by Mr. Martin Cobb, introducing Cobb's paradox. There's a huge amount of information out there on project management, techniques and tooling, all easily available to help us make things work in projects. We can all see from our own viewpoint within a project when something is not quite right, and we can all usually predict a failure from the writing on the wall, usually to do with a lacking or failing in other people. And that's my view on the key to Cobb's paradox. Projects fail because of other people. Second one's by me, introducing Winter's enigma. That's about defining deliverables. From the moment a project is born, it begins to die. It becomes unhealthy as the deliverables evolve over the project. As a deliverable item progresses on its way to being completed, it's easy for obstacles to arise that affect its progress. Multiply this by the number of deliverables in the project, and there's a potential for a huge mess of difficulties. The bigger the project, the bigger the mess can be. A project will fail if the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and neither hand has a way to make those difficulties visible to the project head. The third quotation is a general virtual one that could be easily made by anyone who has worked on a PHC-driven project. Very simple, healthy projects don't fail. So what makes a healthy project? The key to project health is visibility of status and transparency on problems that come along while working on the project's deliverables. So the primary object of attention is always the project deliverables. First, we identify and reconcile the various sources of information on deliverables, like the contract, the plot plan, reports, etc. Then we organize the deliverables into categories, or deliverable sets. Any discrepancies are resolved, and a central database of deliverables is formed for the sole purpose of status tracking and reporting. Project information remains where it belongs, in project files and systems like schedule, chart of accounts, I/O database, etc. The PHC database is only status reporting. The deliverables definition process is continuous as new deliverables arise, exceptions are identified and resolved, and deliverables become completed. Soon after the deliverables are defined, the tracking begins using PHC deliverables tracker tools, one for each of the deliverables types. Trackers are added to the system as each deliverables type becomes first established. Each deliverable is assigned to a person. Information directly from the point where the work is done is used to communicate the status on trackers directly from the people accountable for their own deliverables. The whole picture on deliverable status being totally visible allows effective priority setting as the delivery plan is progressed using a 3-week rolling cycle, the week that's past, the week we're in, and the week ahead. The concerns management system is established at the same time as the deliverables trackers and is the place for issues and risks that arise during the course of deliverables progress. Concerns are built up in a heap until common factors and key concepts that relate them can be established, forming the concerns categories and keyword groupings that make batch problem solving possible. Each concern is accountable to a person on the team, and reporting on each concern is completely uninhibited. Anything goes, and nothing is taboo in the comments that come directly from the project workforce on each of the concerns. The PHC Concerns Management System works closely with the risk management function and helps with the collection of status information. Status of mitigating actions for risks is exactly the same as it is for issues. A concern in PHC is either an issue or a risk. So how do we handle deliverables in PHC? You can think of deliverables as a list of items in the contract that have to be ticked off before the project can be considered completed. At the highest level, there's just one deliverable, the physical manifestation of the project itself, the gas plant, the DCS system, the building, or the water treatment plant, for example. And as we break down that list of one, we see a set of major components spread over the project's geographical structure. And in PHC, we expand the list further into an elaborate branching structure of sub-deliverables. There's quite a bit more to it than that, but this is only an introduction. It's probably enough at this point to say that the deliverable structure is key to PHC, and the deliverable structure seen by the piping team looks very different from the structure seen from the point of view of the accountant or the legal team or the electrical team. PHC defines and continually refines the entire matrix of deliverables in the project and reports on status as deliverables move from not started through to all stages complete, from phase to phase of the project through the feasibility right up to the startup. Some deliverables live within a phase, others pass from one phase to another. PHC doesn't care too much about the division of the phases, it cares about the life cycle of each deliverable from conception to its completion. So how do we handle concerns in PHC? In practice, deliverables don't just progress nicely and problem-free. In the real world, there's a constant stream of snags or issues that arise from work on deliverables. The curve is meant to show that the majority of problems that happen during work on deliverables tend to be handled by the project team, because people on the team are seasoned, experienced experts who each are more than capable of doing their jobs. But inevitably, some concerns arise that either can't be dealt with there and then, or need input from another member of the team. Everyone's busy, and this kind of problem is easy to lose sight of or even forget completely. But beware of the build-up of these off-the-radar concerns. In terms of the PHC health metaphor, we think of them as toxic foreign bodies. You need to know they exist, and you need to know to what extent they've built up, so you can organise effective treatment. Every project has a stream of this kind of problem, but where do they go? Well, they go somewhere, that's for sure. The place for these odd concerns that aren't just handled locally we call in PHC the iceberg. The iceberg metaphor is just a convenient way to illustrate the fact that there are many more odd problems on the project that we can't see than those that we can. One problem with the iceberg metaphor, though, is that our iceberg isn't solid, it's fluid, and these odd concerns come into and out of view as management turn their focus onto the fashionable problems that the project team focuses on as well. PHC doesn't care about the management pressure to favour one concern over another, and it tries to make every concern visible and accountable and feeds back to management information about the reality, not the fashion. It's interesting to see the reactions of people in the project team who see their own project's iceberg for the first time. A common reaction is to bury it again. Many people would rather see the project bear the eventual cost than suffer the personal short-term effects of their project's truth. PHC is a people-oriented methodology. Each person in the project team feeds back information on the status of deliverables, concerns and actions that are assigned to them. The project team uses PHC to monitor the project status. They use information from PHC to create and approve actions that reduce the effect of concerns. And there are PHC-specific staff on the project who do the job of continual analysis of the data, facilitate meetings and process comments from the project staff. The tooling in PHC is a set of database-driven dashboards that allow analysis, reporting and viewing of status information, and that allow collection of comments from staff on project concerns. The concerns management system is the heart of the PHC system that allows views into the status of deliverables, concerns and actions. The action tracking system is a module within the concerns management system that allows actions to be defined, allocated to accountable staff and tracked to completion. A deliverables tracker module is established for each of the deliverables types. This segregation lets us treat each deliverables type differently as far as tracking is concerned. Tracking of a cable, for instance, involves a different set of stages to the tracking of a document or a weld. The PHC system is entirely separate from the project's data systems. This is necessary to ensure that the PHC status database can serve as an effective regulatory tool for checking integrity of the project's data. The first action on a PHC implementation is to start a concerns management system on a PC somewhere. If the project is small enough, then this can be the full extent of the PHC hardware platform. But normally the platform grows to 2 or more PCs that access the data remotely from a server that holds the database centrally. Each PC has the software installed and connects to the central server using secure access over an internet connection. This allows effective collaboration over any geographical distribution for the project. There's another platform, though, that allows any user to access project status information using a standard, free internet browser through secure access to a central SQL database that mirrors the status database. The wider network is necessary to allow the means for project-wide comment collection, which is very important in PHC. PHC is an extension of my own work pattern, using tips and techniques that I've gathered over the years. Also using tooling that I've developed to make it easy to manipulate the data. A combination of databases that I use is FileMaker for desktop use and MySQL for web access through web pages written in PHP. I also use Mind Manager and various other data processing and connectivity tools. Each of my job placements over the past 15 to 20 years has served as a development platform for at least one aspect of the project health control methodology. Most of the implementations have been localized to the job that I did in each particular setting. PHC applied to the work in each case showed obvious improvement as things seemed to get better around me and my part of the project. Most of the implementations were done in some kind of stealth mode because it's very hard to introduce something new into an established industry, especially when the new thing is innovative and can be seen as a threat to normal operation. What you see in the table is quite a small subset of projects that PHC has touched looking back over the past 15 to 20 years. I'm often asked what size of project that PHC can be applied to, and the answer is always, if a project is large enough to need a dedicated HSE, quality or project admin team, then it's large enough to take a PHC service. Any project with deliverables, pretty much all projects, and the potential for snags during delivery, again all projects, is a candidate for PHC, where the project would be committing to a commercial burden equivalent to employing as few as 2 or as many as 5 people in full or part-time roles. Practically, it should be understood that we accept PHC service commissions from the owner or sponsor of a project only. PHC is a whole project service. To put your project's PHC service in the hands of an EPC or PMC consultancy makes little sense. That really would be like putting the fox in charge of the hen house. For this example, I'll take you through how the principles of PHC would be applied on a typical gas refinery build. If you've worked on the Dun Quat refinery in Vietnam, you might recognize some of what you're about to see. So, for delivery of a gas plant, or any plant, it seems reasonable that you should build it first, then commission it, then hand it over to operations. Many years ago it really did used to be done that way, and with very distinct phases. But in modern times it's all about getting to first production as quickly as possible. Operations say give us production, commissioning say this is the priority order for the mechanical completion of plant systems, and construction makes sure that the build is done to the needs of commissioning. Which also seems reasonable until you consider what that shortcut to production actually means in terms of the interplay between commissioning and construction working on plant that has hydrocarbons flowing. Work slows down considerably, and the potential for the project to run on to an open-ended extent becomes a critical concern. In practice, the plant is still constructed before it's commissioned, of course, but in a production-driven project it's certainly operations that set the commissioning and construction order. But how is it all controlled? We use a deliverables type as a control tool. Those plant systems that are required for achieving first production are well known, well in advance of when the systems need to be ready. The order is known as well. For instance, the water and temporary power supply systems are needed first, followed by generation, instrument air and other utilities, and then specific process elements and relevant parts of the safety systems. What's not so well known is the status of individual components of each plant system as the system is being brought into an operational state. But it's easy to track status if we have a system set up specifically for that purpose. Every deliverables type can be used as a coordination tool. It's the tracking of the deliverables types and keeping status derived directly from the point where the work is being done that keeps all the disciplines or functional units aware of the best thing to be doing at any time during the project. So, how do we do it? First is to define the deliverables. Start focusing on loops, then related deliverables types, and the data model soon emerges. The data model is a data structure that holds information related to status, available to everyone working on the project through the PHC dashboards. Everyone has a chance to leave a comment on the system, and these comments are context sensitive because they're related to specific deliverables. What we built is in fact a virtual pigeonhole system where there's a place to leave a message about the changed status of each and every deliverable. The PHC analyst uses these messages, or comments, to update the deliverable status and to feed into the concerns management system. So, having built the data model, we have to assign priorities. For our virtual project, there are 6 zones. 2 of these include plant systems needed for first production. These 2 zones reference 20 out of the whole plant's 260 systems, and 983 out of the whole plant's 17,819 loops. Cabinets, cables, and individual tags were easy to identify from the priority loops. This segregation of deliverables that are important for first production is an ongoing process. The idea isn't simply to work on the deliverables identified, but to allow direction of focus. It's all got to be done, but with priorities set and full landscape of deliverable status visible, it's easy to deal with problems that arise with deliverables as their time for completion and testing approaches. The test order on most plant systems can be fully analysed several months in advance. The main objective is to let commissioning and construction go ahead with their own planned work, but for construction to be alerted well in advance to the needs of commissioning. Commissioning know what to test and in what order. Construction prepare the way for commissioning by mechanically completing parts of the plant that are common priority. The whole point of having the deliverable structure fully defined and set up for easy dashboard monitoring is to allow effective forward planning. PHC has at its heart several passions that drive it. We minimise manpower standby, ideally to the point of elimination. We minimise obstacles to the progress of the deliverables, and we give ourselves the best chance to deal with concerns. Problem solving in batches is the favourite. And that partly involves applying lessons learned. A lesson learned in PHC implementation is a successfully dispatched concern that the system remembers by tagging with keywords. With total visibility comes the luxury of the opportunity to make strategic decisions, as opposed to having the decisions made for us by the circumstances of a failing project. A project exists in the first place to ensure delivery of the deliverables. Arguably, this is the only reason for running a project. The project will have some kind of completion system. A PHC implementation is not intended as a completion system, but it could be used as a rudimentary one. The purpose of PHC's deliverables tracking is to allow a comprehensive view on how complete or how delivered the deliverables are. In the case of cables, we track through 5 definite stages. The completion system is based on record of certificates. The completion system is interested in what is done and what is not done. The PHC data model is a status monitor based on information or indication from the point where the work is actually done. The data model is not the completion system. It's a live, dynamic representation of the state of completion. There's quite a big difference. PHC gives us the chance to drive that completion based on visibility of what's progressed and what hasn't through the whole life cycle of the deliverable, not just at the end. One way for the project to proceed is just to let it happen. Ignore the project iceberg and tackle problems as they arise. The project will finish eventually, and the question is always, is eventually good enough, and how much wasted manpower is acceptable? Commissioning and construction working together using weekly or daily meetings to resolve problems, and operations wait patiently for their plant. There is another way. Take a PHC service and let us start your project health monitoring system. With deliverables lists extending to all deliverables types, a formal process for tracking status, a concerns management system in place, and the deliverables driven into the completion system. Commissioning, construction, operations, all working together using a common data model in a downward spiral of confusion and an upward spiral of clarity where the project accelerates to a crisp, confusion-free finish instead of lumbering to a sluggish end full of unresolved problems that the project owner usually ends up buying along with the plant when he finally signs. Thanks for listening to this presentation on Project Health Control. If you're curious about putting PHC to the test, I'm here to take your call.